Today we're diving into one of the most underrated power systems in all of anime, and the secret war waged beneath the surface called the ground and the sphere of Gachiakuta. These are the cleaners, an elite squad of givers forged on the ground, and right now Rudo is climbing his way to become the strongest among them. They work side by side with the Hell God, the ground's governing body, reporting directly when a beast attacks a civilian, or when something impossible happens like a sky person surviving the fall. Every cleaner has a secret. Some fight for justice, some fight for revenge, and one of them might just be the reason this entire world falls apart. So let's break it all down. Every cleaner, their powers, the structure of the organization, and how it all ties into Gachiakuta's finale. Let's start with their leader. What if I told you the cleaners have a secret mission that has nothing to do with killing trash beasts? Chapter 116 finally revealed their true goal, and it is to uncover the mysteries of the world itself. At the center of it all is Corvus. He personally tells Rudo, "I need your help." He refused to hand him over to the Hell God, as they had a devious plan to take his blood and body and do research upon it. Corvus shuts their plan down, declaring Rudo a full-fledged cleaner, and he puts his full trust in his companions. But again, there's another twist. Only a select few of cleaners even know what their real mission is, and Rudo just became one of them. You see, Corvus explains that ancient books have been found on the ground, dating back over 150 years. These aren't just history texts. They contain redacted information about the sphere and the ground, and someone deliberately erased the truth. So the real goal of the cleaner organization is not to hunt trash beasts, but it's to uncover why the world was divided and what humanity is hiding. The first cleaner in history noticed traces of ancient civilizations and tried to investigate, but one man couldn't do it alone. There were too many trash beasts, too much chaos, so he formed the organization we now know as the cleaners. And Corvus? He's more than just a leader. He's watching everything. You've probably seen these crows hidden across every arc in the manga. Well, yeah, those are his. He uses them to spy across the entire ground, tracking trash beasts, movement, political shifts, and even Rudo's team. But this isn't out of malice or being evil. It's all part of a bigger plan. In chapter 116, Corvus finally drops the truth bomb. He's using everyone in this organization, all 100 members, to reach that goal. But this isn't some Griffith telling Guts the same thing, that I'm using you and doing an utter betrayal. It's not evil, it's honest. Corvus even admits he's far from righteous. He tells Rudo that each cleaner has their own personal motivations, whether it's friendship, redemption, protection, or purpose. But he's guiding all of it to serve the bigger picture and using it for himself. And Rudo? He says it sounds too honest, like something a truly good person wouldn't even admit out loud. But that's what makes Corvus such a fascinating character. He's a mirror to Zodal, both wanting to expose the truth and challenge the world structure. But while Zodal is the leader of the Raiders and sees people as tools to destroy everything in the world, Corvus sees people as a necessary part of something worth saving. So yeah, Corvus might be using everyone, but he's doing it to fix a broken world, not to burn it down. The cleaner organization is split into 3 groups. First, the combatants, which are composed entirely of givers. Now, if you're just watching the anime and you're utterly confused, well, stick around to watch the video. You're in the right place, because I'm gonna cover Gachiakuta regularly whilst it's airing, so make sure to like the video and hit the notification bell, as I'm about to break down literally everything you need to know. Well, basically, thought is this mysterious power source that flows through the ground. It builds up like emotional residue, accumulating in places, objects, and even trash, eventually transforming it into a raw energy called anima that causes supernatural phenomena. It literally creates life. The trash beasts were born when junk thrown from the sphere absorbed enough thought to mutate into monstrous living entities. abilities. But there's another side to this power. When someone on the ground treasures an object deeply enough, that object begins to absorb their thought, evolving into a vital instrument, a weapon infused with their soul. The ones who can wield this power are called givers, and they use their vital instrument to fight back. They can engrave their names onto their item to unlock its true power, like Jabba did for instance. However, the combat teams are not alone. The supporters back them up with raw strength, rescue operations, driving a literal car taking them to destination, record keeping for history, tools, and creating strategy. They don't have vital instruments, but their roles are just as important. Most cleanup missions deploy squads with 5 supporters, unless it's a forbidden zone where the danger levels go off the charts. And finally, we have the Sentinels, who focus on defense, surveillance, and early detection of hostile activity. Now, a person can become a cleaner if they are scouted. In other words, you have to be a giver who catches the attention of a captain, and after that, you're brought to the cleaner HQ where you're screened by the receptionist who has a special power that can see your potential, and then you're approved by the boss Corvus, the leader of Rudo's team, which is called Gachiakuta, and the dude that is the greatest aura farmer in the manga. It's Enjin, the man all the girls simp for. Like, no, literally. Enjin is a womanizer and smashes hot girls on a regular. He simps for the most famous woman in the world called Lily, and I can only think of Turi's wife. You know what I'm saying? I mean, look at his face. He became a gooner. Bro even got jealous that Rudo ended up with her bra. But leaving that aside, watching Gachiakuta's anime, you probably already noticed that Enjin is an absolute goofball, and despite his overpowered abilities, he always refers to himself as an average cleaner. But this couldn't be further from the truth. His name was given to him by someone he owes a lot to, derived from the word meaning fated one. With this name, he feels like it's his responsibility to act as a symbol who brings everyone together, and he further attributes this trait to his umbrella, which stands out from the crowd and serves as a beacon to those who may be lost. With this in mind, it's no surprise that he's the one who has brought a ton of Gachiakuta's major characters to the cleaner organization. He helped Riyo escape her dark past of being a hitman, helped Zanka realize being average is more than okay and motivates him to become stronger, and of course helped Rudo realize there was more to life than just getting revenge on the Spherites. You could argue Enjin serves as more than just Team Akuta's leader, but also their moral compass, or big brother is a better word. For example, when Rudo was willing to kill Amo due to his emotions, he made sure to correct him, which made Rudo become more mature. Zanka literally views him as his idol, and any praise he receives from Enjin, he blushes or wants more acknowledgement. Heck, even in chapter 130, the only reason he tags along to the Doll Festival arc is because he got told Enjin is going too. Enjin's entire team basically glaze him every day because he's incredibly smart, compassionate, and cunning. During the Trash Storm arc, when he was separated from the others and came face to face with the raider Fu, this man was practically on his knees begging Enjin to fight him. But my captain exploited that desire to get intel instead. He said, yeah, we'll fight if you tell me your secret evil plan, and then he proceeded to completely ignore it. His priority isn't to fight, but rather the safety of his comrades first. This is especially obvious in chapter 132. He's taken a special concern for Rudo because the entire world is at stake now. Enjin completely spaced out, which his team said is abnormal for him, and that's because Corvus and Semiu realized that a disastrous event is going to happen by looking into the future, where Rudo is in the center of it. So Enjin decides with all his might he will protect this boy. But how is he gonna protect him? Well, of course, with his goated ass powers. Dude has an umbrella.
Are you serious right now, bro?
Okay, hear me out. While it may look weak on the surface, we know that Gachiakuta is all about anything holding work, and Enjin proves that. First of all, he's on a total other skill level, having destroyed multiple trash beasts single-handedly with ease, moving at incredible speeds that even shock Bundus, a master class giver that has so much experience. My bro is 50 years plus, and physically his abilities are top tier compared to other cleaners, as he was strong enough to send Jabba crashing into a wall with tremendous force, one-shotting that dude, the same guy that can defeat other cleaners by using his full power. But if that's not enough, this umbrella is capable of drilling a huge hole inside the giant flying trash beast created by Zodal. He literally creates a drill that annihilates everything in its path. This huge beast wasn't a joke, because Zodal created it from the legendary Watchman series as its main source of energy, meaning Enjin is powerful enough to deal with even the strongest. Umbreaker not only can be used as a weapon, but a shield too, as it has two signature moves we currently know about. The first is Octa Shredder, where Enjin drops to the ground in a tear-shaped form from a high altitude, creating a devastating attack. Then there's a long-range spinning umbrella, allowing Enjin to rapidly spin his Jinky into a long wire, allowing him to fight from long distances. There's also the fact that he can fly with it like he's Mary Poppins, giving him even more advantage. Enjin's vital instrument is pretty much an all-rounder, unlike others, who only have one attribute. It's a weapon that's offensive, defensive, close range, and long range. But I'll keep Enjin brief because he's so heavily involved in every other character's story, so as you keep watching this video and get to the end, you would know everything there is to know. The next cleaner on our list is Riyo. Now, before you simp like Rudo initially did, keep in mind that this girl is a hitman, and unlike others, she doesn't mind killing people. She swore the hitman life behind her, promising Enjin to never soak her scissors with blood again, and then join the cleaners. She gets excited at the prospect of a challenge, stating a strong opponent gets her fired up, and shows a particular interest in hair, playing around with Rudo's and asking if it's dyed, or, you know, giving trash beasts a haircut, acting as a hairdresser, which is why it's not a surprise that her vital instrument are scissors. However, in chapter 113, we receive a glimpse into her dark past, as the information broker who knows everything in the world gives her a free pass to ask any question. Now, normally this would come at a high price, but Riyo wastes it on purpose, even when he asked about the whereabouts of her mother. This instantly triggered her rage, and Kuro instantly knew she wasn't healed from the past trauma. Even when Amo manipulated Ryo's memories and they talk about it in chapter 130, it is ignored, as Riyo would not like to address that situation, as it will open up a can of worms. Now, in contrast, Riyo looks up to Enjin as a role model, as she developed a very similar mentality to him, shown by how she's taken Rudo under her wing as an apprentice, teaching him how to chill out and also support him during his hardships. For example, Riyo is the one that toured Rudo around the headquarters, teaching him the culture of cleaners, but the most important gesture is offering Rudo sweets for the first time in his life, as in the sphere, only rich people ate them. Now Rudo, like even me, if I ate sweets for the first time, he of course busts a nut eating them. And later she appears double cheeked up on a Thursday afternoon in his bed on that very same day. Bro, Rudo couldn't believe a girl was laying there butt naked. But the truth is, she is worried about his pain, and it foreshadows the idea that her parents also did bad things to her, such as training to become a killer, as her surname is Reaper. But the clues of their special bond, it don't end there, people. She's later seen resting on Rudo's shoulder and drinks from his cup, showcasing flirty behavior. All of these may seem minuscule, but it all culminates in chapter 64, as Riyo internally reflects on her memories with Rudo. She told him that she wanted to get to know him better, but seems unsettled when she remembers Rudo interacting with Amo, stating he should have forgotten about her, feeling absolute jealousy that Rudo is getting close with another woman that he saved. But one of the most telling scenes of feelings being involved is in chapter 118. The first thing Riyo wants to do returning from a mission is to see Rudo. She searches everywhere in headquarters headquarters to see him, but her expression turns sour when she sees Rudo talking to Amo about their feelings. This was definitely a ship tease moment, as Riyo interrupted their conversation on purpose to make him leave. However, that's enough about their ship, because where Riyo truly shines is on the battlefield. Her vital instrument is a pair of scissors known as the Ripper. When activated, it becomes as large and long as Ryo's legs. By swinging them around after attaching her feet to the handles, she's able to cut up large objects like trash beasts with ease. Her main attack is consecutive cuts, where she's able to first swing the scissors open and then close it, forcing her opponent to dodge 2 back-to-back attacks. They can either be swings or direct attacks like against the raider Nord. In that fight, Riyo even gets excited that her opponent's weakness is only temporary, because she loves the thrill of the fight getting even harder. Eventually, she stops using her scissors just to throw hands against a former member of the warrior tribe, a renowned town for creating strong women in combat, by the way. Riyo matches her in fists, where they both are beaten to a pulp, where eventually another weapon which pretty much destroys anyone in Gachiakuta, that's when it's revealed. When Riyo pulls out the 9, bro, you're cooked! Realizing that nobody else could hear her screams, Riyo becomes a ruthless monster, shooting Nord. Guns are rare, and it was a parting gift from her boss after leaving the hitman profession. If Enjin allowed killing, she wouldn't have hesitated to land the killing blow, even going as far as telling the others that she should have killed her while smiling like a villain. She then saves Zanka by shooting multiple bullets into Jabba, instantly defeating him, a raider who is considered one of the strongest in the series. And speaking of Zanka, he's easily one of the best written characters. Zanka was born into the prestigious Nijuku family and was expected to become a Hellguard member like his older brother and sister. To fulfill this, he enrolled at their training academy, rising to the top of the class. However, in the inside, he was playing a facade the whole time, fulfilling expectations and the image of his family, hindered from being his true self. In reality, he was just training and studying hundreds of times more than other people to make this possible. He isn't a true genius or natural talent, unlike what people seem to believe due to his results. Then, everything changed when a girl named Riyo joined the school, easily surpassing him in virtually every way. His pride was destroyed, as Riyo was a natural prodigy and a genius in combat. Zanka pretended everything was okay, you know that meme? But in the inside you're crashing out? Well, that's what happened when he was letting out his anger when he thought no one was around. But Riyo overheard this and questioned why he wants to sit on the golden throne, calling him out for only wanting it because he wants people to think he's amazing. The burden coming with holding the title of best is heavy on anyone's shoulders, which makes Zanka face reality and accept that he's not special. In the face of a real genius like Jabba or Riyo, he is a nobody. He believes human NPCs are fake. He became unpopular as soon as the real genius came into class and saw them being top tier glazers to Riyo or even criticizing her. This is what pushes him to pick a normal wooden stick as his vital instrument, then an actual badass weapon, as he wants to prove something to the fake world. Now, unfortunately, he crashed out again. He withdrew into a deep self-imposed exile, spiraling downward for 3 days in despair. Picking the wooden stick made him stuck inside a well as it couldn't help, where he couldn't get out, and he calls himself a pathetic bitch. It gets so bad that he thinks to OF for himself, but after meeting Enjin, he was inspired to become a cleaner and surpass even the most talented people. The label of genius doesn't hold any value if you don't let it. He strives to improve himself to surpass geniuses with hard work alone, to demonstrate that the average person can be just as great. As Enjin puts it, Zanka fights against his own weakness, which makes him mentally strong. Zanka also states he doesn't blame his shortcomings or failures in battle on others, and he dislikes receiving pity. But In my opinion, this guy is way too humble. Remember, he's a former Hell Guard in training, basically Gachiakuta's FBI, capable of even overpowering givers and having access to hard-to-get items like guns. Because of this, Zanka has received multiple types of training before dropping out. He was taught to dodge gunfire during private training with his older sister Kyoka, the commander of the Hellguard Red Horn Squad. He's also a tactical genius, being able to deduce the workings of a Jinki in little time, swiftly creating counterattacks or a way to utilize the enemy's power to his advantage. For example, take his battle against two of the raiders, and even up against a much tougher raider like Jabba. Zanka was able to quickly devise a plan with Rudo to redirect things in order to land a critical blow against that dude, and his vital instrument called Lovely Assist Staff, upon activation, it becomes significantly sharper, allowing Zanka to cut things. In chapter 50, Bro creates a crater in the ground to do a dirt flip burying Jabba. This instrument complements his fluid fighting style to deliver deadly blows. I mean, one attack alone broke Jabba's ribs in their second encounter. He also has vibration sensing, which allows him to sense people or objects in an area even without vision. The second power is inverted spikes, showcased in chapter 125, which allowed him to quickly pierce through trash beasts. Like, this dude was destroying skeletons with strength alone and breaking necks. This is a flashback to when Follo witnessed what a cleaner can do. But the thing is, it was such a one-sided victory that Enjin praised Zanka for his hard work, calling him a full-fledged member despite just being a trainee and getting his instrument recently. Meaning, this dude is pretty good from the start, as the crowd is in awe of his aura. But I can't say overpowered without mentioning Eishia, who serves as the only healer in the cleaners that has over 100 members. She's incredibly shy and rarely takes credits for her skill, basically the Hinata of Gachiakuta. Her grandmother is Alice, and she's a renowned doctor on the ground and a close ally to the organization. She became famous as being one of the first to research cures for the body contamination, pioneering the medical field and helping cleaners create the masks they use, which stops inhale of toxins. She took in her grandchildren August and Eishia after their parents passed away. She trained Eishia in medical arts, where eventually we see her knowledge in action, as she healed Zanka from the brink of death in chapter 91. This dude had broken bones and multiple cuts, but as a doctor, she figured out the poison Jabba used based on a mud cobra and mushroom that gave him a hallucination trip, breaking it down amazingly well. However, she was still disappointed with her work as the recovery time was longer than expected. Later, when she treated Riyo, who was completely crushed by the king trash beast in the contamination zone, she suffered from internal organ damage, a fractured spine, and ribs and all over the place, just by the way. But our healer is so broken that she came back in tip-top condition instantly after using her vital instrument. This is the moment Eishia reveals the real reason she became a healer, and it hits hard. As a child, she was just playing around with electricity, trying to copy her grandma, who used a makeshift defibrillator to revive people on the brink of death. But one day, she took it too far. She electrocuted herself, which meant her first experience with healing was almost dying. But instead of being scared off, she remembered how her grandma risked her life to save people, and that feeling stuck with her. So Eishia started practicing, not just for fun, but to earn that same strength. She calls herself a coward, but it's because of her pure heart and kindness that her powers actually work. Her vital instrument is a power cord that uses electricity to administer medical treatments. Using the cord, electricity flows through her body and is converted into life force, going into the patient and subsequently healing them. But if misused, it backfires, causing permanent damage to her own body. Yet even still, she takes the risk, quoting her, "If it means I get to see someone smile again, I'll do it." She is so scared of people dying in front of her that she kept burning herself like a complete idiot. So Eishia chose pain just to make sure others don't suffer. Then we have her brother August, who owns a clothing brand called Colosso, and he is responsible for the creation of the masks that allow the organization to venture into forbidden zones. Without him, even the strongest cleaner would be dead in only a few minutes due to the contamination in the air, and it generally stinks. Like, imagine trash has been thrown in the ground, no one's cleaned it for centuries. Bro, smelling that shit for 1 second would kill any man. So remember, Rudo was on the verge of dying after only 15 minutes in a forbidden zone without a mask before Enjin found him. And that was a rare case due to how much he had spent his life near trash, so he was used to it. But being an expert in craftsmanship, August creates all the cleaners' clothes and masks, like for Rudo, armor, for Follo, for everyone. He eventually then creates Rudo's mask in chapter 29, getting the size of his face whilst he slept. He's this eccentric, loud character where he states every design is made according to their personality, so of course Rudo's looks angry. But Enjin's squad isn't the only one, as next up on our list is the leader of Team Child, led by Bro Santa. He's an advocate for peace above all else. He's very apologetic for the actions of his significantly younger team members, who don't understand social cues like an adult would. An example of this is when dear Santa, who is only 10 years old, demands Rudo to give all his sweets to him when he was eating them for the first time. He gets dragged away by Bro, who apologizes. But dear Santa holds this funny grudge on Rudo and showcased this in chapter 46 when they lock eyes fighting over sweets once again. The other girl is a 14-year-old called Fantasia. She made a similar mistake, like getting too close to Rudo and immediately asking about the sphere. But in that very same chapter, Enjin invited all of Team Child to discuss the marauders who the cleaners had interrogated. These bandits attacked the cleaner HQ in chapter 45 with RPGs and more. After being defeated, they revealed they were tipped off by someone who wanted to find a weakness in the cleaner organization and the boy that came from the sphere. This, of course, would be the raiders, as they attacked to start the Trash Storm arc. Team Child ends up fighting Bundus, where all their powers are revealed. Despite never speaking, their Santa has the ability to communicate exclusively with facial expressions and noises. He's very irritable, being very annoyed by Bro calling out his interest in Rudo. He also despises being called nicknames, as when Bundus suggested calling him Little Deer, he was ready to throw hands. So more than any of the other members in this team, he really encapsulates the child in Team Child's name. Like, the kid literally has a pacifier. Okay, so funny story. That's actually his vital instrument. This is Centralian, which is able to greatly boost their strength. His name is printed on it, which means it has 100% capability as well. Its main ability is Drain. The more hits Dare lands on the opponent, the more power he ends up draining from them. This subsequently increases his own power at the same time. His leader, Bro, uses his cloth weapon to significantly boost his speed, throwing Dare into a giant mountain wall. Now, at first, it seems futile with no damage being done. Bundus claims Bro needs to stop this. Although he loves children, we must teach them the reality of life and shield them from things that will do them harm. However, the leader of Team Child states, when a child is trying to move forward and the parents are the ones that stop them from growing, they are actually doing the most harm. He loves to hear the growth of his students, where eventually their Santa blows up the entire cliff. Bro Santa's vital instrument is revealed as well, and it is a piece of cloth with the ability to stretch. Now you may think, what the hell, a handkerchief, a literal cloth? Wait, a towel? Isn't that trash? No, it isn't. My guy saved Dare doing this like a protective father. But also in this hilarious scene where all of them are going to die crashing in a car, even the enemy included, so they work together to save themselves only to meet Enjin. So that tells us Bro's cloth is pretty strong as it's casually moving around a 1 to 2 ton vehicle falling at 120 miles per hour. He's also capable of going at insane speeds as he keeps up with Enjin in chapter 72 to use his cloth to move so fast that the gang all meet up with Rudo, who is facing Zodel. This leads to Fantasia taking center stage as all hell breaks loose. The raiders plan to crash into the sphere with this massive flying trash beast, and that would mean everyone will die. Most of the raiders end up getting defeated, and Zodel had got his job done to speak to Rudo. He timed this attack to enter a trash storm that would ascend them into the sphere, but it all failed. So Fantasia comes in to save the day. You see that giant monster onesie that she wears? That is actually her vital instrument, which she calls Guita. Due to her obsession with kaijus, her onesie allows her to transform from a little girl into a full-blown monster. The gang end up destroying the core, and Fantasia's kaiju carried all the cleaners to safety as she can literally fly and even tank attacks from larger enemies or trash debris. And despite the beast that Zodel made was an imitation of the Watchman series, which are the strongest in the entire manga, Fantasia still believed she can take it on in a fight. So she's quite underrated, just like our next cleaner on the list named Semiu. She is way stronger than what people give her credit for. Semiu is the receptionist, but that doesn't mean she can't throw hands. And I know, pretty much everyone is watching season 1 and they're gonna simp because the design of her, it's top tier. Now without Semiu, the cleaner's entire operation fails. Like, for real, can someone give this woman an Employee of the Year award as soon as possible? Because she's completely locked into a job. And throughout the entire series, in every single arc, she's involved either communicating intel, sending support, or telling the cleaners what to do in missions. She's managing over 100 people after all. So as soon as dawn strikes, she's sitting at her desk and picking up request calls for the cleaners in a professional manner. She's also responsible for inspecting all new recruits to make sure they are worth Corvus's time. So when Rudo first arrived at Cleaner's HQ with Enjin, she instantly expressed interest in his potential, as she was able to figure out that his ability to use a Jinky was much higher than average. But how is she able to know Rudo is the MC just by looking at him? Well, Semiu's glasses serve not only as her way to properly see, but also as her main source of power. Her glasses enhance her kinetic visual acuity, which is just super sight basically. In other words, she can see a person's true essence to detect their power level, their abilities, and the abnormality within them. A perfect example of this was after Team Okuta left for Panther, where she tells Corvus that there's something inside Rudo that is constantly growing, a curse capable of destroying the world itself. Her other major ability is foresight, giving her brief glimpses into the future, letting her evade attacks and projectiles such as bullets and missiles. In fact, this power is so OP that Semiu herself has stated that the only thing she can't see with her eyes are bizarre methods and abilities. In chapter 45, she demonstrated all of this perfectly and showcased just how strong she is, dodging gunfire in short distance from multiple people at the same time like it was nothing in Child's Play, a freaking RPG which is going 650 miles per hour, and literally throwing that back at them whilst it's mid-air, and then throwing hands to destroy all of them in single kicks or punches. Enjin then came along and revealed that Semiu dealing with opponents is often, as she's just that capable. She then farmed some aura, stating that if she lost to such low-level trash, it would be shameful to the next generations learning from her. So given that her eyes have no offensive abilities, unlike other cleaners, she makes up for it it in every imaginable way, especially since another power she has is looking into the future. In chapter 131, she takes time off work to finally write her name upon her vital instrument, which would allow her to bring out its true potential. Well, the thing is, yeah, she's holding back her true power the entire time, but the recoil of it is so severe, it slowly makes her go more blind. This brings us to one of the cleaner's newest recruits, being Amo. And oh boy, where do I even start with her? As a child, she was sold off by her mother to a trafficker who was driven insane by the Watchman Series boots. Remember, these legendary jinkies have so much raw thought energy that anyone who isn't classified as broken or missing something per se can't handle their power without becoming insane themselves. So Amo was in living hell, trapped in Penta Tower with this man, as he essentially warped her perception of love and basically groomed her into a living. Well, you know, I'm talking about the darkest, most twisted thing in your head right now that you can think of for a child. Yeah, this man did it to Amo for years. This caused Amo to develop a twisted mental state, but an unhealthy obsession with love, which ties directly into her powers as a giver. However, things changed after the angel and a companion of his showed up, planning to use the tower's height to reach the sphere. They defeated the trafficker who tried to retaliate, and Amo took his boots. Now, in an attempt to take them back, the trafficker attempted to harm her. So what did she do? Of course, get her revenge, push him out the tower and kill him. I would have done it a lot sooner. From that point on, Amo claimed the Watchman boots as her own, living alone and stealing from visitors until the cleaners came to her to learn more about the angel, as they received intel of a rumor that it appeared around the tower. Amo invites them into a room. She asks them to remove their mask, and instead of answering their questions about Angel, she shifts the topic to who Rudo likes. But when Enjin bluntly asks for the information with a smile, Amo's trauma is triggered, and she accuses them of trying to use her just like the filthy man from the past. The situation then escalates when Delmon, under Amo's influence, attacks Enjin. Rudo demands answers, noticing Amo's boots bear the same 3R mark as his. They are seriously overpowered. With the sense of smell, it can alter the feelings and memories of everyone in the room, fulfilling the desire of Amo to destroy any opponent of her choosing, essentially brainwashing them into becoming slaves who believe they are in love with her in the image of someone that they actually cared about in their past. So tensions rise further as Amo emotionally manipulates the entire group. Delmon attacks Zanka, claiming loyalty to Amo, while she insists she's done nothing wrong. Now, one by one, the cleaners succumb to her illusions, Rudo included, but Tamzi, forced into action, traps everyone in his net-like jinky and destroys the tower to break her influence. She then refuses to show remorse, but Rudo, overwhelmed with emotion, beats her until Gris intervenes. Rudo, he doesn't care it's a woman. If anyone hurts his friends, Rudo would kill them, so he bashes her head in multiple times with punches. Now remember, according to Semiu, Rudo has something comparable to a curse inside of himself. This curse, fueled by hatred, is constantly growing within him. This is seen most clearly when, after being released from Amo's ability, he immediately begins to beat her up. Rudo is so emotionally attached to those he sees as friends. When someone he cares about is in danger or injured, he feels guilty and powerless for not being able to protect them. So due to his trauma, he has a habit of believing that he's the one to be blamed for the things that happen. But once he stops, Enjin then helps Rudo reflect and convince him to apologize. He makes our MC become more mature, as he was blindsided by emotions, risking the objective to attain information, and didn't show empathy for the enemy. Because after being treated, Amo shares her painful story and the encounter with the angel who can travel between the two worlds. She draws draws a picture of the man, whom Rudo recognizes as Recto's killer, the dude that adopted him, his adopted father, right? So determined for justice, Rudo asks Amo to work together now, and she agrees, where they essentially become friends and a ship starts sailing together. However, her life, bro, it can't get any more worse, as she was captured by the Angel and locked up again. For months, she was tortured by Tamzi. Also, Rudo could eventually find her and enter a total state of despair. I'll explain exactly why he did this when I get to his part. However, thanks to the info broker Kuro, the cleaners were able to learn of her location sooner than Tamzi wanted, and so they were able to rescue Amo, who was pretty much on the brink of death, having all her memories of the person who tortured her erased by the Watchman Series book. It was only after this moment, when Rudo saved her, did she decide to join the cleaners. But despite living a terrible life, Amo is still a relatively sweet girl, but can have mood swings when she feels like someone is using her. She's also not the best at socializing. I mean, her childhood was spent with a creep isolated in a tower. That's why Rudo, who has also lived a shit life, resonates so heavily with her. The two can relate to one another, which has helped form a bond over the course of the series. Rudo visits her at hospital all the time and talk about their feelings, where their lovely ship gains even more sails. But after healing, Amo returns all dolled up, having the biggest glow up ever. Everyone is in awe of her beauty in chapter 129, as she finally has people that actually care about her for the first time ever. Amo's powers level up because of this. Instead, she is dubbed the healer of hearts, someone that has the ability to heal people. She wants to develop this even further by experiencing happiness with Rudo and the other cleaners to gain more development of sense and life. This is linked to the whole idea of the Watchman series only being able to be used by broken people. Amo's future power holds the answer of saving humanity with Rudo after they collect them all, as Amo then declares she will help Rudo gain his revenge and the answers of the world. Next up is Delmon Gates, who has a strong sense of justice, stating it's unforgivable to anyone that harms his comrades. He originally worked as a farmer, knowing a woman whose dream was to see a flower bloom even on the dead ground of the surface. Delmon worked tirelessly to turn this into reality, eventually cultivating his vital instrument, Thirst Quencher. So out of his desire to make the flowers grow big, and with his new power, he was eventually able to make them bloom, vowing to fill his house full of flowers. And so bro, he was living a happy life with the woman he loved, right? Well, that was until the raiders attacked his farm and killed her, leaving a great mental scar on Delmon. He then became a full-fledged member of the cleaners. He's loud and passionate, always shouting on the top of his lungs. He's also the tallest, over 7 feet, and seems to be one of the oldest members of the organization at 45 years old. And this is evident when he went to Canvas Town to receive protection for the Forbidden Zone. He took time to mourn the loss of the previous spellcaster God, meaning they were friends. But Delmon becomes an absolute monster when under the control of Amo, revealing his true power. His Jinky takes the form of a water hose, allowing Delmon to control the water contents of his opponent. When it hits an enemy, their body absorbs water like a sponge, swelling up. If a target absorbs too much water, boom, they pop like a freaking balloon, instantly killing them. But to make things even crazier, this hose, just like the ones in the real world, have different nozzles that produce their own effects. At this time, we've gotten a look at 2 of them. The first is Silent Nozzle, allowing Delmon to quietly attack a person and knock them out with just one spray. This dude is so strong that he one-shot Enjin and knocked him out in one blow. Now, although this was off guard, to pull this off is absolutely crazy, as Enjin is top tier, being able to one-shot Jabber when he's serious. The second mode of his power we know is called High Pressure Nozzle, which unleashes a fast and extremely powerful water blast, which is strong enough to blow away the walls of Penta Tower during the fight between the cleaners and Amo. Now, after the battle, he regains his senses and continues on as a member, as he is very apologetic for his actions, as he committed it against the ones he cares about the most. Our next cleaner was originally originally a member of the evil raiders, known as Fu. He first appeared during the Trash Storm arc, when the leader of the raiders, Zoldal, had separated the group with his giant trash beast. Fu was supposed to fight Enjin, but Man's charisma is 99 out of 99. He's so powerful, he tricks Fu into revealing information about the situation on how to find his friends, and he continues to ignore Fu's plea. Fu begs Enjin multiple times to fight him and attack first because low-key, he's a pussy. His reliance on following orders stemmed from his fear of taking responsibility. He convinced himself that as long as he acted on someone else's command, the blame would fall on them and not on him. In his mind, he was just a tool used by others, and therefore not accountable for the consequences of his actions. Now, after joining the cleaners, he's obviously learning that he's not a tool, he's a human, and he's creating bonds with these dudes. But before that happens, he can't carry himself with any confidence, and Zoldal dropped him off on the side of the street, abandoning him with no hesitation after he did such a huge blunder against Enjin. He later meets up with the cleaners in Canvas Town, tracking them down, giving them valuable information on the raiders, like Jabba being the one who stole the Watchman boots, as well as Zoldal's plan with the whole giant trash beast, being able to figure out if the guy who created the chokers on their necks has any sort of connection to the Watchman series that Rudo has. Now, unfortunately, nobody's gonna trust him just yet, especially Enjin, thinking that he's spilling way too much information and could be a spy. But at this point, Fu is willing to glaze him to no end, begging him to let him serve under him and fulfill all his orders. He states a minion will follow his master to the ends of the earth, and he is impressed with Enjin's sense of humanity of his team and with Rudo being lucky for having them. But now you're probably wondering, well, we all know that the pussy in anime is actually secretly the strongest in the entire manga. In reality, Fu is a living weapon of destruction. When the gang must play a game of tag and chase the information broker to gain answers, which is how to get back to the sphere for Rudo's revenge, during the chase, Zoldal had predicted the next move of the cleaners, and it created a Mad Max type chase, which was absolutely peak to read. If you haven't seen the Mad Max movies, we definitely watch it because Gachiakuta was definitely inspired from it for this arc. Zoldal then finds out Fu betrayed them and became a cleaner, where the true extent of his powers of his Jinki is revealed. Fu realized his new friends were going to die, surrounded by hundreds of trash beasts and Jabba being way too strong. He finally receives a order for help, which triggers something inside to not hold back. This is Hai, a cursed doll Fu keeps with him at all times. And to be honest, this thing is more like a devil. Fu made a pact with the doll where it takes over his personality. This includes a full-on body swap. His strength becomes unbelievable, as with bare hands he can rip steel. His fight against Jabba tells us a lot more though. Jabba scales extremely high in terms of strength in this series. I mean, his claws have their names imprinted on it, which means he can release 100% power unlike others. This raider defeated Riyo and Zanka, but against Fu, his arm gets broken instantly with a single punch. The thing is, Fu's entire body becomes a weapon and his flesh becomes a vital instrument, meaning he can go at the speed of sound, instantly throwing Jabba off guard and one-shotting him like a bitch. But it gets even more overpowered, as all the hundreds of trash beasts that were chasing their car, they get annihilated in 2 seconds flat. Jabba, much like Madara did for Guy praising his taijutsu, then declares Fu as having pure strength, but the mercy he shows of not killing him is a flaw, since he follows the ideals of Enjin now. But it's time to move on to a former support member who evolved into a giver. His name is Follo. He joined the cleaners to wipe out all the trash beasts, inspired by his friend Alan. He wanted to prove that even an average person could become something great. This guy Follo is very relatable, like all of us watching the video. He fumbled so hard throughout life that he got no girl, he's not cool, and there's literally nothing special about him. He's a literal NPC, having to watch all the MCs do awesome things constantly around him, whilst he serves as support for years upon years. It's like forcing someone to pick support in League of Legends when they never want to in Champion Select, and they rage out. Now, when around others, Follo is kind and friendly who puts others at ease. But inside, Follo struggles with an inferiority complex and has resentment towards those who look down on people like him, who lived ordinary lives. So in order to combat this inferiority, he puts his all into the supporter role, constantly going above and beyond to be useful to people he's working with. I mean, in chapter 119, he gets praised for his ability to keep up with client relations in a good stature, unlike others like Rudo. And there's many instances of this. Like when Gris gets hurt under his watch, Follo blames himself entirely, breaking down emotionally at his bedside. Follo then doubles down on the idea that he wasn't good enough, and it reveals just how much of his self-worth is tied to how useful he thinks he is. As a result, there are many subtle hints of his resentment towards Rudo building up. Like in chapter 117, Follo overhears how important Rudo is becoming, as he gets scolded to become a respectable cleaner and complete orders to kill trash beasts. But we all know that's actually Follo's dream, in which he was never allowed to follow it. So the most telling part of anger boiling up is when he gave Rudo new clothing gear to make up for tearing his old one during the information broker arc. But unfortunately, our MC rejects it, and he's socially inept to receive so much kindness. Follo then tells us his inner feelings that during that fight with the information broker, he didn't want to lend his hammer to Rudo because he was afraid it would get broken due to his free R powers. However, with Rudo rejecting all the effort he put into amending his mistake, this made Follo think Rudo's looking down on him and create a misunderstanding. So eventually, it wasn't until their fight with the house trash beasts when things changed, as Follo had completely reached his breaking point. I mean, think about it. Rudo is the person he wants to be and has all the attention after only being around for a few months. A cleaner with the most potential, with a legendary Jinky, and a blood relation to the Undertaker, the most legendary dude. As a result, Follo crashes out completely in chapter 122 when Rudo tells him to stand back and declares, "I'll take care of this." Follo was already insecure about being just a support person, but he believes Rudo doesn't understand what it's like to be a faceless mob. And the teammates start throwing hands in the middle of a mission against each other. Eventually, Bro tries to take on this overpowered house beast on his own and gets thrown off a cliff, instantly getting defeated. At this point, Follo was ready to die, convinced he had no purpose and shouldn't have been born. We then see another misunderstanding in chapter 125, when Follo reflects on his past with his friend Alan, who once inspired him. Follo had always wanted to be a worthy rival, hoping that one day they could reunite and compare how far they both come. But when the moment finally arrived, he was devastated to learn that Alan, the very person who sparked his ambition, had become a broken shell, demotivated and a loser. So this is what pushed Follo more to not end up like that guy that peaked at high school. Now in the end, he tries to give his hammer to Rudo, as he's the actual important person to finish off their job of this story, right? But our MC, he says, "Nah, I ain't accepting that shit." Rudo tells him if he wants to crash out, he better do that to the max with his heart put into it, where he finally reveals that his dream is to become a cleaner. He tells Follo that he's not done yet. Even if Follo doesn't see value in himself, Rudo sure as hell does. It's in that moment, the energy inside Rudo's gloves triggers something unbelievable, transforming Follo into a giver, his precious object turning into a massive hammer, who then proceeds to take care of the trash beast on his own. Jabba even once mentioned that Follo had potential. He just needed a push, which was Rudo finding worth in him. This also means that Rudo didn't simply turn Follo into a Jinky with his powers, otherwise the dude would have turned into dust right after he deactivated Free R. Now normally it takes years of training to become a giver, but Rudo's gloves catalyze that transformation. They transfer anima, the essence of thought, and ignite a reaction that speeds up the process processed to insane levels. So Follo's vital instrument is his hammer, which previously belonged to his childhood friend. His power is stress accumulation, and when activated, his hammer grows to a tremendous size. I'm talking about how's he lifting this shit, and he gains a shield on the front of its design. The shield is durable enough to tank attacks from even a large trash beast that would have defeated anyone else. Now, the more damage the hammer takes, the more stress it accumulates, which can then be released as a powerful explosive attack. However, Follo can't spam this. Once the attack is released, he has to go through the whole process of building up power again. Now, after this fight, Follo was actually content with just staying as a supporter. He keeps the scars on his body as a way to repent, but everyone wanted to give the respect he deserved. And now he's an official cleaner alongside Rudo, with both of them becoming actual friends as he says sorry.
Sorry.
This accomplishes one of Rudo's goals on his to-do list. So with all the characters explained extensively, I've left the best for last. It's time to cover the MC and his biggest enemy, which contains a massive plot twist. Rudo's journey begins in the slums of Heaven, a city flowing above the ground, where society discards both trash and unwanted people. Born to abusive criminal parents and burdened with scarred, painful arms, Rudo was shunned from birth. His only comfort came from Recto, a kind man who took him in and gave him a pair of strange gloves, later revealed to be part of the legendary Watchman series, making Rudo the descendant of Canis Shorbeck, the legendary undertaker who at one point possessed them all. From a young age, Rudo found beauty in the broken, diving into trash and repairing discarded objects. This talent foreshadowed his core ability, finding value in what the world throws away. So despite being viewed as trash himself, he formed a meaningful bond with Chiwa, his childhood crush. But peace is short-lived. Recto is murdered and Rudo is falsely accused. Framed by the Angel, Rudo is executed and yeeted off Sky Island to die. But surviving the toxicity, Rudo lands in the Forbidden Zone, a wasteland swarming with mutated trash beasts. Armed only with the gloves, he endures poisonous air and monster attacks until he's saved by Enjin. Rudo learns that the cleaners are warriors who fight trash beasts to protect ground society. Enjin recognizes Rudo's potential and tests him by letting him get captured by thugs. So when he's forced to fight back, Rudo's gloves awaken, not only transforming chains into a weapon, but also another object entirely, breaking given rules that say each person can only use one vital instrument. This ability shocks Enjin. Rudo can turn anything he touches into a weapon of his choice, or something even more powerful. So Rudo is brought to the Cleaner HQ. Though reluctant to join at first, Rudo goes on his first mission, and when Follo is concerned, Rudo jumps in, turning an iron bar into a massive web to save him. This moment begins Rudo's slow transformation from revenge-driven loner that's edgy to someone who fights with and for others. The cleaners throw a party for Rudo, and he starts to feel like he belongs. They then receive a mission involving a kidnapped Sky person, a trap set by the Vandals, dangerous givers who want Rudo. Jabba ambushes Zanka whilst Gris sacrifices himself to protect the others. Rudo's grief over Gris awakens a new power. Gris's charm transforms into a combat vital instrument that can predict enemy movements, but Jabba overcomes it by turning feral, injecting himself with venom to break the logic of the charm. The cleaners fight back for victory, and Jabba escapes through portals, and this marks a turning point for Rudo. Gris survives, but the pain of almost losing someone close to him, it makes Rudo realize he's not alone anymore. He now has a new family. So back at HQ, Corvus, the leader of the cleaners, he confirms Rudo's heritage. His gloves are part of the mythical Watchman series, a legendary set of gear once worn by Canis Shorebed, a man who tried to stop humanity's descent into greed and destruction. So with new rumors of someone crossing the barrier between worlds, Rudo sets off for Penta with Enjin, Zanka, Riyo, and the others. First, they stop at Canvas Town, where Remlin, the heir to a magical spellcaster line, grants them protection against Forbidden Zone danger. Eventually, when the group meets Armor, who possesses the Watchman boots, her power makes people see their loved ones in her, turning them against each other. Rudo, under the illusion, sees her as Chiwa and his friends as enemies, and Tamzi is forced to intervene, activating his Tokushin, launching a net that knocks everyone out by collapsing the tower. Enjin confiscates Armo's boots, and she reveals that the person that saved her was a guy named Angel, and he also killed Ragdoll, right? She draws him, and Rudo recognizes him instantly. But despite all the chaos, Rudo asks Armo to work together. However, behind the scenes, Tamzi captures her again, and Jabba steals the boots, setting up the Raiders' grand plan. Their leader, Zoldal, tried to replicate the process of creating a Watchman Series, which resulted in creating a massive flying trash beast to breach the barrier by using a storm at the right time. Rudo then confronts Zoldal, who is a parallel to himself. Zoldal also has a Watchman item, the Code, and like Rudo, he's filled with hatred towards heaven and sees people as worthless. But he's the MC of a shonen, so unlike this evil dude, Rudo has made bonds. He rejects Zoldal's invitation to burn it all down and says that he's found value in life through his friends. Zoldal then calls him hypocritical and attacks, but Rudo awakens concentration mode, a new power that channels all his energy into one object to create a massive gun. He uses it to defeat Bundis and escape with his team. So this is the best time for me to briefly break down Rudo's powers. Well, he has the Watchman Series gloves called 3R, and they bring out the maximum potential of any object he touches, and they have unlimited thought, the power that energizes everything. However, Rudo can only use his powers on 3 objects a day, or separate that power into larger and smaller increments. The ability called concentration, for example, puts all the power into one. This multiplies its power level, making it too strong. Now, the biggest downside to this is that when an item is converted, it will disappear after its use. So Rudo has to constantly get creative in order to use his powers to the fullest. And as the story moves forward, Rudo then visits Canvas Town again with Remlin and Zanka, discovering the mural of previous spellcasters. A symbol reveals that the Watchman gloves date back to Canis Shorebed, confirming once again, wait a second, Rudo is the direct descendant of this dude. This revelation reshapes Rudo's entire identity. Not only does he hold the most powerful weapon in history, he's connected to the man who tried to save the world generations ago. 6 generations in fact. So he begins seeking more answers about his ancestor, the Watchman relics, and the true origin of the chokers, as they are the main form of communication between organizations in the ground. All civilians are wearing a choker. So to find answers, the group visits Kuro, a mysterious information broker who's clearly lived for centuries and knew who this Canis dude was. However, Kuro won't give his information out for free, instead challenging them to a wild game of tag. But before they can catch him, raiders arrive with Momoa, a memory reading giver that will steal the information for themselves. The chaos leads both groups to awaken the king of Tori in a contamination zone, an enormous trash beast that's way too OP. But Rudo once again subverts expectations and proves why he's the MC, being too strong. He uses 3R, not on the contents of a magic box, but on the box itself, transforming it into a Sybaris beast that devours the king instantly, putting him in contention to be the top 5 strongest character in the manga. Rudo then uses intel from Kuro and receives a letter from his ancestor explaining all the information that I did earlier. They also track Amo because she got captured, right? And they discovered that she's been kidnapped and she's been tortured for months by the same angel, the angel that killed Rudo's adopted father. Now, she doesn't remember it as her memories are erased because of the Watchman book that the angel possesses, but Rudo vows to protect her. But eventually, Rudo is assigned his first solo mission, joined by Tamzi and Follo. Their goal is to clean up a village, but things take a dark emotional turn we explained in Follo's segment. However, Rudo's gloves, they awaken something inside this dude Follo, transforming him into a giver, and he defeats the trash beast himself. Now this dude Tamzi, he's stunned, and he's very important to the story because a plot twist is about to happen. Rudo didn't just create a weapon, he saw him ignite a soul. This proves that Rudo has the ability of turning people who believe they're trash into something very powerful. He can find worth in anyone and bring it out through his giver energy. So this goes beyond its mechanics. It's a form of anima transfer, potentially rewriting the rules of their world, making it the perfect time for me to explain the next cleaner Tamzi and what that huge plot twist reshaping the story, what is it exactly? Well, basically, you know this guy Tamzi, right? Yeah, he's actually the angel who went to the sphere, and this bastard actually killed Rector and stole the Watchman Series book. But the world blamed Rudo, and you're probably thinking why? Well, that's because the angel knew about their one-sided mindset because Rudo's parents were criminals, so everyone just assumed he followed in their footsteps. Tamzi planned all of this to make Rudo break out of his shell, stating this himself. And after collapsing the tower and stopping Amo's illusions, playing this facade that he's a good person, the truth slowly unraveled. Amo, despite everything she went through, doesn't remember that Tamzi was the one that tortured her and imprisoned her. Now why? Because this dude can alter memories using the Watchman Series book. So yeah, not only did he steal it when he killed Rector, he's actively using it to manipulate people's minds like they're puppets. So as Rudo's journey with the cleaners intensifies, the presence of Tamzi looms, always one step ahead, always watching his journey. But it's not until the village mission that Tamzi fully enters the spotlight as the villain. Now, some of the supporters even mention how it felt like Tamzi wasn't helping in this fight on purpose, and everything he does as a cleaner is fake. Even letting Rudo get close to Amo is just for his grand plan to make him fall even deeper into despair when the time is right to cut everything loose. Like, think about Denji's situation with Makima. So this guy Tamzi, he's a full-blown menace. Basically, a month before the series began, Tamzi visited Amo's tower, but not for small talk. He used her home as a launch pad to fly back up to the sphere. He murdered Rector to set up Rudo's tragedy into motion. This dude loves despair. He was watching Follo's breakdown and calling it absolute cinema. He's basically the series' final villain. His vital instrument is Tokushin, a spinning disc staff that creates thread-based attacks, and it's completely OP. He can spawn massive nets that entangle his enemies, and the more you struggle, the worse it gets. Now, once caught, he can reel you in like a fish, spinning the spool to slam you into the ground with deadly force. Even more terrifying, he has this thread clone where he creates a humanoid winged puppet to attack targets remotely, and as long as he's holding a thread, it's like he's there in person. Now remember, if you want to use one of these legendary items, Zod'll explain that something had to be missing in you, or you have to be a bit insane, as Follo couldn't use the Watchman series book either, because when he tried, a lot of shit was happening in his mind. So clearly something is wrong with this Tamzi dude. He's like Aizen, but a crazy Aizen, a evil Aizen. My man wants the world to end, and this is evident in chapter 130. He meets up with Corvus, the leader, as he hitched up a perfect plan to create a sacrifice that would completely break Rudo. This is why Corvus told Semiu to look into the future, so he can see exactly what the angel is planning, so he can be one step ahead in Rudo's favor. Now currently, Rudo trusts him, but the trail of clues are waiting to be discovered. Rudo is no longer a guy obsessed with revenge, he's a symbol of hope, and with every every arc, he grows more powerful, not just physically, but mentally. His journey now revolves around understanding the secrets of the Watchman series, the truth of his ancestor Canis, Tamzi's twisted plan to break his shell, and the connection between ground and heaven. I will definitely do more detailed videos regarding the Watchman series and Angel, and then there's Rudo's entire story, so be sure to hit the notification bell to not miss out on peak fiction, and meanwhile, watch this video on your screen right now.